just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if it's sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 231. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz, and we are presented by DraftKings, the only Knicks and Nets and Knicks podcast that's there for you on the internet. You can find us on YouTube as well. If you're watching these videos, subscribe. We've got some really cool links that we've put up as well on our YouTube shorts and on our TikTok page to get a look at some of the all-time great Net and Knicks. So check those out. Some fun Mount Rushmores. But we're back together again to talk about the news with the NBA leaking the Knicks start to the season. They'll open up the NBA. Nets and Knicks not playing each other in the preseason. And Alex, it's good to see you. It's been a minute. How the hell are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a while. Yeah, we haven't been on an episode together in, a couple weeks. We had the SNY show, which was great for Dexter Henry, and you had Doug Norion from Locked On Nets. That was great, but I was supposed to be on that one, but I couldn't make it for personal reasons. So, it's been a while since it's been the two of us.
I know.
So it's good to be back. It's good to be here. It's good to do this.
Yeah, we were chatting this morning in our pre-production meeting that we have every Monday. It's about 3 hours long. Really good deep into topics. Yes. And we were, talking about guests here or there. And we said, no, we kind of don't want a guest today. We want it just to be the two of us, although we do have some things in the pipeline that we're working on. But for today, we're like, let's just have it be our, me and you and me, and shoot the shit. So it's good to be back. And of course, the regular season leak, Knicks at Celtics, which I'm sure, I have everybody on Knicks Twitter muted, so I couldn't tell what was going on, but I'm sure there was some excitement. And as, your puny fan base, small amount of you all, you should be excited, I'm sure, as you get the season kicked off against the defending champions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited that, they're throwing right into the fire right away. I don't want any cupcake starts. And what we were discussing in our, 6-hour-long pre-production meeting,
it's growing in time.
It's growing in time. I mean, every time we have to have more and more time. I mean, so in our 7-hour meeting, we talked about how that some Knicks fans are reacting to this. Knicks fans are reacting differently to opening on national TV, the opening game of the season, the ring ceremony. Some are like me and saying, hey, I'm excited, let's go, let's beat them, let's get them, let's go right to the fire, we want to be a title contending team, let's do it right away. And some are like, it would have been nice to open up against bad teams like the Pistons or the Nets or just some trash ass team or just the middle of the pack team where you could beat them. I'm just like, let's go. I want them to win I want them to win a championship. I think they can win a championship. I said on Dexter Henry's show, New York got game, that they're going to win the championship because, might as well reverse it. I've been going against the grain. Oh, it's bad luck. It's bad luck. You know what? I've got nothing but sports bad luck my entire life. So maybe things will change. I believe this team can win a championship, and I think they will. And I'm going to put it out there. I think they're going to win a championship. And the best way to do that is start off with a bang on national TV in Boston and ruin their ring ceremony. Knicks never got a shot to play them healthy because they got hurt. And last week and a half of the season, whenever it was, they beat the Celtics by 30 in Boston. And the Celtics pulled all their starters after the third quarter and said, oh, we weren't even trying that game. Like, yes, you were. You just got punched in the mouth. And things have changed. Different team a little bit. No Bogdanovich, no Hartenstein, but, you got Mikal Bridges, your old friend. So I'm ready to rock. But Mike, for you, as a Nets fan that you are, and 2020, 21, whenever it was, when they were all together, the big three that you had recently of those guys that we don't want to mention their names. Did you want to get all the smoke in the beginning, or were you one of those that was like, let's ease into it?
Well, you said so many great points that I'm going to have to unpack a lot of what you just said. So we'll get to that answer in just a moment. One, Celtic fans are thinking way less about that game that happened 3 weeks before the regular season ended than Knicks fans. You're excited because I know in your mind you're like, oh man, we could have won the title. That's the team. Celtic fans are like, dude, it was a game in the regular season. We won the fucking title. Like, I'm just keeping it real on that front. It was one of 16 losses in a epic season that happened to have, that was one of them. But I understand, that was a big moment for Knicks fans because it gave the hope of what ultimately did not come true when they did lose in the second round to the Indiana Pacers. I think that Knicks fans should be interested in seeing the Celtics. I mean, if this is the team that you believe that you're going to go up against, wouldn't you want to see that? I would be surprised if anybody wouldn't think differently. Like, oh, give me the Hornets. Like, are you contending for a title, or do you want? What are you looking at? So I'm surprised to hear that. And two, it really doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't. Like, hate to be put a wet blanket on the parade here, but which would be a really big blanket. But what does it really matter? Like,
it totally went over my head too. I didn't even like it. Just I was like,
I think I got the cliche wrong. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Like, even if the Knicks lose by 17 or win by 8, either way, you're going to have a feeling of too high or too low that will come back to some form of whatever the ultimate reality is. And I want to say this point, the Nets, when the season opened, when they had Kyrie, KD, well, because it's weird, Alex, because the first year when they had KD back and they had Kyrie, the first year when they had Kyrie, they lost. I was at that game. They lost in overtime, I believe, to Minnesota. Kyrie had a shot at the buzzer, missed it. Then the next year when they had KD back, right, with Kyrie and KD, I can't remember now if it was the Warriors. I believe it was the Celtics, but they opened the season and they just beat the shit out of teams. And they traded for Harden. I mean, it didn't even matter. Then the next year, Kyrie didn't play because of the COVID mandates. They lost in Milwaukee. So there's that. Evan, let's all remember the Knicks team that won in triple overtime versus the Celtics when Evan Fournier won for 80. That Knicks team won 16 games that year, and everybody was hyped. And this is where I wanted to finally land. And I'm going to poke fun at net fans here, so it'll make you smile a little bit. I guarantee you, this is a lock from me. Okay, you ready for the lock, Alex? If the Celtics beat the Knicks season opener and the Knicks are 0-1 and have the worst record in the NBA for the one night, I guarantee you every Nets fan will tweet out the standings and say we have the number 1 pick in the draft right now with the lottery. That is a lock from me. Lock that up. Remember this moment. That will happen if the Celtics beat the Knicks in the season opener. Guaranteed.
That'd be great. Nothing like that. And if Brunson goes for 40 on the first night, like he's on pace to score X amount of points, whatever, something like that.
Oh,
like
it's
the
coming.
baseball thing where somebody hits a home run on opening day and they're like, he's on pace for 162 home runs. Like, shut up.
With the worst.
Yeah. Those baseball cliches always get you.
I'm right.
You are. And also remember that game with the Fournier game that you brought up when he scored 112 points. He that was a bing bong game. And
was that the bing bong game?
That was a bing bong game. And you coined the phrase a month or two later that everybody stole from you. It went from bing bong to ping pong.
I did. That was me.
The worst season in Tibbs's, and Leon Rose's tenure so far. So I hear you. But at the same time, it's just about getting that confidence and coming into it after it's early season basketball. It obviously doesn't mean anything, but like if we keep saying nothing means anything, then why are we watching these games? You know what I mean? Why do I care? You know what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't mean anything. Oh, he missed a shot in the third quarter. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, it's an early season game. It doesn't mean anything. Yes, it does. I mean, it means something from the point of they played him 4 times in the season. And you want to get the tiebreakers if you're really going to be contending for a championship, and you want to get a tiebreaker over the team that you're going to be hopefully 1-2 with in the standings. No, hopefully Celtics aren't 2, but you know what I'm saying? Like you might be close to them in the standings, and you want to get the tiebreaker, so you want to win as many games as possible against the good teams, and fatten up on the bad teams. And getting started off to a good foot. Obviously, they're not going to go in there and win by 30. Like, that would be ridiculous. I mean, if they did that, I would, you wouldn't want to be on a podcast. And I'd be like, oh, it's happening. We're winning 75 games, screw this, whatever. But
yeah, I
don't know. I just feel I'm excited for it. And I think it'll be a good statement game. And the Knicks can really open up a lot of eyes in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get all that. And obviously, if you simplify it down to nothing means, does it mean
nothing means anything?
Right, of course.
I don't know if that's a stand, whatever.
Of course,
that makes any sense.
Of course it does. I'm saying the long haul of an NBA season, ultimately what'll matter for the Knicks is their health and chemistry down the line. And you can't take this is in any sport from the first game. It's a big stage. It's a huge game, and for Knicks fans, they can be excited about it as they should.
Mm-hmm.
As I was as a Nets fan when I got to see the debut of Kevin Durant, and I got to see him. I think it was the Celtics now, but man, so much time's passed, and the Warriors. They had a Warriors game on there, which I guess would have been in Brooklyn, but man, I can't even remember those moments now, which just shows you too first of all, from that season, right? Think about that season and the twists and turns that it took where they make the deal for James Harden they make the deal for James Harden. They have KD and Kyrie and Harden. They finally are playing great basketball. They steamroll the Celtics in 5. They're up 2-0 versus the Bucks. For me, does that win matter? I mean, like, I'm just looking at it from that perspective.
Right.
It was fun. I was excited. I got hyped up. But it was Kyrie Irving getting hurt in the playoff series versus the Bucks and rolling his ankle. It was James Harden having his hamstring go versus the Bucks. That's what I remember, and that's what ultimately you'll remember, right? It'll be OG Anunoby. What happens? Mikal Bridges, another 3 for 14 from him tonight. Like, you're like, what the hell? I thought he was this great. What's going on? That's the stuff that ultimately you'll remember. But again, be excited. It's your first game. The Nets are gonna. I don't know what the Nets opener will be, but I guarantee you it won't be on national TV. That it will not be on. It will be on the Yes Network, and it will be, competing against the Yankees. Maybe it won't even be on. Well, I guess at this point it wouldn't, but it'd be competing against the Yankees from their World Series run or whatever that times out around there in mid to late October. And
actually, I heard
different set of scenarios. What you heard?
Shout
the
out
Nets are playing
to Evan Roberts, but I heard that game 1 of the Knicks season in Boston, this first game of the year, coincides with game 7 of the ALCS. So if the Yankees are in game 7 of the ALCS, then that would be a conflict. But they could get to the ALCS and win it in 5. It doesn't matter.
They might not be there.
They might not be there. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't think they will be, but that's another conversation. But either way, it's just exciting, man. Like, none of it really means anything, like you were saying. But at the same time, like, I've said this on this podcast a couple times, and I'll repeat myself because it's been a while. I'm going to enjoy every second of this season. If it goes the way I think it's going to go, and, they win 65, 60 games, and they're just steamrolling people. And
stop it.
I'm not kidding, man.
You want a BWF?
Do I want to bet they're going to win 65 games?
Yeah.
No, but I think that they can win 57 to 60 games for sure.
65 games is.
I'm just saying, man.
60. I will wager whatever you want. They do not win.
I'm not betting on it.
Games.
I'm saying if they're going, so let's say,
but they win. Their second best player is who? Like I can't.
Julius Randle. OG Anunoby?
65 wins, Alex. Stop.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it could.
No,
I'm saying they're that good and they've been together, man.
Let me list the teams that have won 65 games in the NBA.
I'm not.
Let's list them.
You're trying to fight with me.
I'm not trying to fight with you. That point annoyed me. 65 wins.
I was being facetious. I'm not facetious. I was exaggerating.
I've said saying Nick things, but 65.
Listen, if they win, do you think that it's possible they can win 60 games? 60
games, I think, is too many. No, I think with health, and I don't think they're a team that's healthy enough to win 60 games. It's really tough to win. NBA hold on, ready? NBA teams.
I think that the Knicks are going to be awesome. That's all I'm saying. Right, they're going to be awesome. And they're like, I'm going to enjoy every second of it. That's the main point, is that I'm going to not let a 2-game losing streak get me down. Not going to let people get me depressed. If the Knicks start losing like a lot, then that's a different conversation. Good. But if they're going according to plan and they start off good and then they have a couple, like a little down, little slump here and there, I'm not going to let it happen to me. I'm not going to let them people get me down. That's all I'm saying. Well, God bless you. Did you find out the amount or no? You put your phone down. 24 teams in the history of the league. I've won 60 games. Okay. 24 teams. Like I said before, I want the Nets to go 4-78 and all 4 of those wins be the Knicks and just beat them every time. They won't be seeing each other in the preseason.
They're not there.
Which is surprising. We didn't realize that it's been years. We were talking about this in our 8-hour pre-production meeting.
Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, from a logistics standpoint, you would, like the Jets and Giants play each other every year.
Right.
Obviously, the Nets and Knicks are not in the same building like the Jets and Giants,
or same division. Also, not the same division. The Knicks and Nets are the same, but that doesn't matter because the Wizards are. Yeah,
the funny thing is that preseason game would probably have a little more fun to it.
Right.
I bet you, whichever building, I do think that preseason game would be a little more fun.
Right.
Would have some energy to it. You remember? I mean, the preseason game where Randall hit that winner and the Knicks went 4-0. And they were terrible that year.
Was that the same Bing Bong year that we were talking about?
I think that was the same year. And
that might have been because everybody was that makes sense. Actually, that tracks. I think about that because they're coming off the 4-seed championship and then coming to the next year, you get a nice game winner and then the big game one. And then it was all down. I think they started off like 5-1 or something that season, and then it just went all downhill.
See, this is
like
why, Alex, I'm like so excited.
You're so pessimistic. Yeah.
No. I'm so into all the Nick love now because they are setting themselves up. And I'm not saying this will happen.
Start 5-1.
It does, but like, the ring ceremony for Jalen Brunson and just everything, the love fest, like. This is Knick fans are calling it the vibes are high.
Immaculate. The vibes are
immaculate. You know what that really means, Alex?
We're excited.
You've got really good culture going on. But you're calling it vibes. It's the same
vibes.
Shit.
Vibes.
It's the
Nova
same
Knicks
shit.
vibes.
And
it's vibes.
What's happening is it's just the setup.
Culture is something the Nets say. That's it.
It's just the setup for the fall.
Yeah, if you're a pessimist, I'm going to be positive.
A hater.
I'm not going to be
I'm
like
not a pessimist. I'm a hater. I'm not a pessimist.
I'm not going to be like
hater.
I'm me. I'm not like people who play a character and just be like, I'm Mr. Positive all the time about everything. I'm not that guy. I'm just they're showing me I was down on Leon Rose after year 2. I was down on Tibbs after year 2. I was like, they're never going to do it. Like, what are we doing here? What are these moves? Jalen Brunson traded your whole draft. Like, why did you make the moves to trade your whole that you had to trade your whole draft to get this guy? Is he that great? He's good, but guess what? He turned into a superstar. So you know what? You proved it to me, and I believe this team, if they were healthy last year, they could have won a championship. I don't know if they would have, but they could have gotten to the finals for sure. They would have given the Celtics a great series, and that's why I think adding Mikal Bridges makes this team like great for this current era with positionless basketball. They have one of the best benches, if not the best bench in the league, with Harden, DiVincenzo, and Deuce McBride on the bench. Like, and they brought back Precious Achiuwa. I just feel like it's just all right there for them, and I'm just excited for it. And I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna just ride this wave, man, and enjoy it, and be positive, and until they show me that I need to be negative, I'm going to be positive, and that's it.
I like positive, Alex.
I'm not going to positive spin negative shit though. Like, I'm not going to be like, you might 7 in a row. Like, don't worry about it. They're just getting their shit together, and no. If they're showing me they suck, I'm going to be like, well, this is one of the disaster. Fire everybody. You know what I'm saying? So,
I hope you're right.
That would be crazy.
Clip that.
That's your best thing ever. The Knicks have a terrible season, and then at this time next year they have a new regime.
I do have a couple of fantasies. And then I do. What's that?
Safe for work? Is it safe for work fantasies?
No, it's not sexual stuff.
Okay, good.
I could in some sick way, when Mikel's there and they becomes too cliquey, that they kind of ostracize some of the other teammates by accident.
Like, see, I don't know if that would happen because they're all CAA family. So like they're all sort of in the same sub family in a way, like especially OG, Randall. The big guys are all the CAA guys, and the rest are just fall in line to where like Precious Achiuwa is not going to make a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if he's CAA or not. Randall didn't get his contract extension. He's eligible for now. It's smart for the Knicks not to give it to him, but there could be something there with that. That could be something where, it could lead to something. But then again, Julius Randle got Leon Rose the job. You know what I mean? So it's just like he's obviously loyal to him too, and he's stuck with him in times when I don't think a lot of GMs would have. So I don't know where's the chink in the armor, man. Like, I don't know.
I'm just it was a fantasy.
Health is the only thing to me is that can bring the Knicks down.
Next level talent in the big spot. In a big spot. Yep. No, I know
Knicks
you don't.
Came up clutch a lot of times, man. and that wasn't just
We'll
Jalen
see.
Brunson.
I'm going to poo-poo this.
Do you remember those two? Remember that play with DiVincenzo kicks it out, the ball knocks around, and Hart gets the ball and hits a three, and this and that, and again, you know what I mean? Like the Knicks did it all year last year. They made the big plays. They hustle and they make the big plays.
Not all of them though. I mean, they didn't.
I know they got hurt. Exactly. They didn't win. They got hurt. The
guys on the court didn't make the big plays.
Right, because they got hurt. So their talent level dropped dramatically. If you take 4 starters off of any team, they're not going to win a championship, obviously.
I'm not going down the road of this conversation. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Time will tell. We'll see what will happen. Right. I think the Knicks have a very good team. I do. You had said this on New York Got Game. Are the Nets too good right now? It was interesting because I asked Doug Norrie the question, and he said, no, they are terrible. So I love Locked On Nets for a couple of reasons, but they're my go-to Nets podcast because I truly believe that Doug and Adam know their basketball
right
way better than I. Like they see the game and they dissect it better than I can. So I love listening to their podcast because
he didn't grow up a Nets fan either, Doug. So like he doesn't have that emotional attachment to the whole thing. Yeah.
So when he said that, it kind of opened my eyes, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately in sports in general. Like, I was listening to WFAN, and Tommy Lugauer was like praising the Giants, and I just was thinking to myself, like, oh, I like, yeah, I see this, and then part of me was like, we're too close to it. They're gonna suck. Like it always happens. And I think Tommy
especially Neighbors is hurt now and stuff.
But just something about it. It was like it resonated with me. We always think our own players are way better than what's really going on fully in the league.
Right.
For all the Knicks fans listening. So for me, like hearing that, I'm like, okay, let me try to think about this differently, because from a bigger viewpoint, I'm like, okay, they lost Bridges, but they were shitty with him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Thomas is going to be better. They're going to development of Nick Claxton, the development of Noah Clowney. They're going to have Dennis Schroeder for a full season. He's been really good in the Olympic Games. Like you've seen, he's a much better upgrade than
the coach might be good. You don't know. Yeah.
They're going to play hard. I'm like, are they bad enough? But I keep coming back to that. And eventually Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith will be dealt. So like they're going to trade these guys. But I just keep coming back to like, are they bad enough? And I hope Doug's right. But also it's weird because we say that, but when the season starts and let's say they're playing their games, I can't sit here and root for them to lose. I'm not going to do that.
No, especially early. Especially early, you can't.
It's just impossible to do that. I know I do know though, for the health of this team, them going 36-46 is not as positive as getting a top 3 pick. But that is fact. That is fact. But in the moment, it's going to be very challenging for me to root for them to lose. I don't think I can do that.
You know what it is? I have a lot of experience with this in my fandom recently, especially with the Jets and the Knicks. You know, obviously the Knicks not as recent, but it's happened.
With the Zion stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and with the Jets really is what it is over the last couple of years, especially where they're out of it and just like you want them to lose because it's a better draft pick. But if they win, I can't watch them and root for them to lose. It's just a stress-free, boring way to watch a game because you're like into it and you're watching it almost out of obligation. You know what I mean? Like, I love this team. I'm so used to it. I'm a robot. I'm going to watch this team. But it's like, and you want to see the players play well, the young guys especially develop. But at the end of the day, you're kind of like, hit a 3, good, but is it good? I know. It's such a mind fuck. And you almost like can't wait for them to just clinch that bottom spot. So then you can be like, all right, let's win some games. And like, let's not make this like the Nets in Jersey when they won, 4 games, whatever that was season.
Yeah.
So the John Wall year, so I get it. And it sucks, man. Cause like, especially with the Jets last year and the year before and the year before that and the year before, every year with it's just, they start off like you get excited and you see Zach Wilson throw one deep touchdown pass. You're like, oh, I'm into this. And then they suck. And you're just like, it's week 12 and they're out of it. And you're just like, I got to watch the Jets are on. And just like halfway through, you're like, why am I doing this to myself? And there's no excitement. It sucks.
Well, at least,
but you just got to get through the year. At least it looks like it's just gonna be 1 year for you. Though.
Yeah. Well, at least for the Nets as well, it's watching younger players to develop and it's not going to be watching guys that aren't going to be there. That makes it at least more tolerable in understanding that. Now, I say that now. We'll see what happens later on. But if they don't, I know the ultimate prize, and everybody is hyping Cooper Flag, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can tell you the top 5 and who should go where. But from all indications for reading and understanding, and I do believe that this draft is a lot better than what we've seen recently, especially last year. So I know even if it's the 3rd pick or the 4th pick, the Nets are getting a game-changing player that at least they can give them some hope to build around. And I've been thinking about this point for a while. I'm glad my brain sparked and remembered it. Because people keep telling me, oh, the Knicks picks aren't that valuable because they're going to be really good. Like, okay, if they're the 26th pick, they're the 27th pick. And I'm trying to explain to people listening that you use it as an asset for your team and your organization. So I'm going to give a hypothetical on how I think something could play out for the Nets. Let's say they don't win the lottery and the Nets get the 3rd pick in the draft. Let's then say they have all these other draft picks. They have the Knicks pick. They have the Bucks pick. They have another Knicks pick later. And they maneuver those picks to get into the top 10. Now you take what was that Knicks pick, you trade an expiring asset, let's say, and other future picks, and you're in the top 10. So, you were like, I'm just giving a hypothetical. That Knicks pick was 27, but they packaged it with another to get into the top 10. And now you have the 3rd pick in the draft and the 9th pick in the draft. And you go into the next season with, the players could suck. I'm not telling you they're going to be good. Who knows? But the idea that it's just ultimately they're going to take all these Knicks picks and just draft there, it's not the way it works. They're going to maneuver and move around. I'll give an example. When the Nets had the 7th pick in the draft, and this was the reverse way, so it actually worked opposite, they traded Eddie Griffin to the Houston Rockets, and they got 3 draft picks back. They got 13, 16, and 21 or something like that. And it became Richard Jefferson, Jason Collins, and Brandon Armstrong. It went the other way, where the team had more assets, made the swap. But it was a trade that worked out for the Nets there. It didn't work out for the Rockets. The point is, this idea that it's only going to take the Knicks draft pick is delusional. They're going to use these things to maneuver to make smarter picks, possibly earlier or later, and it's capital to use. It's not a lock that they're just going to select 27, 28, whatever, 24. It's not the way it works. I guarantee you all those draft picks from the Knicks, they will not use all of those. I guarantee that. So just think about that when you're thinking about trades and how they're maneuvering this, because they might want something later. In 2 years in a draft, they trade away a top Knicks pick, but they get into the top 10. Like, that's the way it's going to work for them. Not necessarily taking those picks. But that's why if I told you the Nets next year could have the 3rd pick and the 10th pick, or would have Mikal Bridges, what would you say? It would be to take that swap. And it might help the Knicks. But it's such good leverage and maneuverability that they got all of that. They got all those picks that they can use for Mikal Bridges is great. It's going to help them win long term, undeniably.
Yeah, the trade also helped the Knicks win long term.
I don't want to talk about how it helped the Knicks. I know it did.
I'm just
saying,
I
want people to see it that way.
I get you. And it's also, I'm glad you're saying to make trades for like 10 and down or things like that. You can maneuver into the draft, because nobody's ever going to trade. If you have like a Cooper Flag draft or a Zion draft or whatever, that number 1 pick is priceless. There's not a player in the NBA that you can trade for, unless it's Wemby, to get that number 1 pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be another guy that was the top of the draft that's guaranteed to be Hall of Famer. It's priceless. So it's not like football where you can give 7 picks and move up to the top 2 or 3 in the draft. Like, you're not going to get in the top 3 or 5, but you can get to 12. Right. You can get to 15. You can get to 17. And that's a good way to look at it. But we'll see how it goes. And I hear you.
It's not just, those picks you're going to select that pick. You're going to select that pick. They might be dealing with a team, for example, that's like the Indiana Pacers, who need Cam Johnson, or let's say the Pacers have a really shitty year because Halliburton gets hurt.
Right.
Okay. And then they end up being the 10th pick in the draft. And they don't need that 10th pick, but they'd rather get veterans back in future picks. And the Nets move it. Like, things will happen that will allow trades to occur later on. They're not going to just select the 29th fucking pick if the Knicks are that good every single year. There was a specific tweet of another show that really irritated me with this idea that they said the Nets like agreed that the Knicks got better, which I agreed with, and which we both agree. Like you and I both agree they overpaid, but they had to because of the tax and because of where they're going. Okay, we both get that. But there was this idea that the Nets did not get better long term is insane to me. Yes, they did. And someone made the point like, oh, so you're going to go from a team. Oh, so you're going to, so no, well, in 10 years, call me when you actually can win. That's the point. It would have been 100 years. 10's not bad considering it used to be never. So when you make the joke, oh, well, in 10 years, call me because now the Nets have a chance to win in 2036 when they actually have a good team. Yeah, I know it's going to be a long fucking time. And you're exaggerating, but it would have been 2086. Don't you understand? You're making the joke, but you're actually giving reality and why Net fans are excited.
You make a good point. I was looking up something because I was trying to think of another. I can't find the point, but there's different ways to look at it. We said this before on a previous episode. It's not like the Nets were like this middle of the pack team that were kind of good and knocking on the door, but like the Knicks were last year. Like they were top 3-4 team. I mean, the Knicks were the 2 seed last year. That people forget that, but let's say they're a top 3-4 team every year, get into the first or second round every year, and they just were missing a piece or two, and you just keep going and try to get it. The Nets were not that. The Nets weren't even a playing team, and they were losing, and so they made this trade. So I get it. I just still say, and I'm going to keep saying it, that if the Knicks are great, like I think that they're going to be, you're not going to be so happy. That's all I'm saying.
It'll suck in the moment. Absolutely. Yeah. It'll suck in the moment. But
you're happy there's a chance.
Success for long. Yeah. At least now there's direction and hope. That's the joke that gets me. Oh, when 2031, when they're good.
Damn, well, that's just troll. That's just troll.
But
troll.
Yeah. But it's better than what the alternative is. They might be trolling, but it's still a compliment.
Yeah, because
they were.
Yeah. No, I get it, and we had our arguments about that, and I have my opinions on it still. I'm just I hear what you're saying, and you're not you might end up being right, and that's the whole thing, So
well, what happens? What happens? What happens if you don't win a championship and we get all your draft picks? Then what?
It depends how bad they get. I mean, if they're winning 50 games every year, and those picks still suck.
But what if then it's over? Like they get to the top, they have one trip to the finals. To get to the second round, whatever it ends up being.
But it might not be over because look at what the Mavericks did when they were okay. They had their star in Dirk. They were good. They got to the finals. They lost, and then a couple of years, and they stayed relevant because they had the star player. And then they made some moves and got over the hump.
If the Knicks don't win a title, was the trade good enough?
If the Knicks, it depends. It depends on how good they are and how good they are for how long. Because if this trade turns them into
it all. If this doesn't happen,
can I finish?
I want to know.
If this trade turns them into what the 90s Knicks were, where they're good for a decade, they get to the finals twice, they win 50 plus games, 55, 60 wins throughout the whole decade, the trade was worth it. Even if they don't win a championship. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they can. And because if you look back at the 90s Knicks, during the time of the 90s Knicks, people forget that they were trashing Patrick Ewing on the radio on WFN. The only outlet, there was no Twitter then or newspapers. The only outlet for fans publicly was calling into a radio station or holding up a sign at a game. And they were trashing him. You can't win the big game. You can't hit the big shot. He comes up small. Now when we look back at those teams, oh my God, the 90s Knicks, you always make fun of them. You would think that they were a dynasty, the way that the fans in New York talk about them. 1994, they lost. But we look at 1994 as this amazing season. You got to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's amazing, and so I think that in the moment it might suck, but in, let's say, 15 years from now, this decade will be great, and that's why I'm just going to enjoy the ride. I know that this doesn't come around often, that teams are knocking on the door. The Knicks and the Jets are knocking on the door. The Mets are fake competing this whole time, and they'll be okay. And it's about the future and the whole bullshit. But the Knicks and the Jets, they're knocking on the door, and I'm just going to enjoy it. The Knicks are setting themselves up for sustained success. And the Jets are in a small window. They got the quarterback. They got a lot of young players, but they have to find another quarterback once Rodgers is gone. If he's good, whatever. But the Knicks are set up, man. They're set up, and they're all in their prime. They all like each other. They're all in the same agency. They're all together. Their coach is a little old. They're going to have to pivot there once Tibbs is a little out of it down the road, and then we'll see.
Well, you bring up something interesting, and thank you for answering the question, Alex.
Yeah. My long-winded answer.
Ewing did get a lot of heat because he couldn't win a title, right? He came up short when Jordan was out of the league. They made another step, but ultimately came up short. But had long sustained success where they were a team that you knew was always going to be talked about as a top 3 team in the East or whatever. Jalen Brunson came to the Knicks with no real expectations, but turned himself in real time into an all-NBA player, superstar, and a player that, the Knicks fans love. He loves the Knicks, and obviously right now they couldn't have a better relationship. I wonder if over a long period of time, if he can't deliver a title like Ewing did, if the fans, I don't say will turn on him, but if it's like second round exit, and it just kind of like they become the Sixers in a way where they just like, if there will at some point the magic will wear off and it's 2028, 2029, and it's the Knicks coming up short again, if it will still be this love fest for Jalen Brunson because he came out of nowhere. Like Ewing was the first pick in the draft, and the expectations were crazy.
We're out of whack in the beginning. Yeah.
Georgetown. The
national
lottery
title
winning.
I
mean, it was the weight of the team and the city were on his back. It is for Brunson now, but because he kind of came out as like a good free agent signing, but whoa, this exploded on the scene here. If over time that would start to happen again for him, I'm just as a net fan, or I should say, a person that doesn't want to see the Knicks win, I'd hope to see this evolve and play out. But I'd be kind of very curious how that would go for him if he just became a player that couldn't get the Knicks to win it all, like Ewing, and how he would be viewed, because right now it's all love.
I think it depends. So with Embiid and the frustration, I still think Philly fans love him. I still think he's their guy, and they make excuses for him. And
let me just sorry to interrupt. I just want to interject. Not about that kind of success, not their relationship, but that kind of like the Sixers just never always second round, that kind of success. But I'm talking about I'm comparing it to the Ewing relationship.
Right. Well, if the Knicks never get out of the second round by the end of this decade, that's a big problem, and that'll be a big problem. But if they're like the Ewing years where they're at minimum second round, then it was conference finals pretty much every year, and then it was a finals appearance here and there, I think the relationship will still be there. There'll still be a smattering of people that are like, is that a word? There'll be a couple people that'll say like, you can't win the big one and this and that. But it's tough to say because I'm not in the moment, and it also depends how you get there. You know what I'm saying? Like if the Knicks are in the finals every year, and not every year, but if they're in the finals like 2 or 3 times over the next 5 years, and they just don't get over the hump, they lose in 6, they lose in 7, they get to the conference finals another time, and they just don't win it all yet, and then I'm sure we'll be frustrated. But at the end of the day, it's like, do you look at him as a choker if that happens? Like obviously, if he misses 2 free throws to win the championship, and then it all depends on how you get there. You know what I'm saying? It's about the journey. Yeah. It's hard to say black and white of what it will be, because like I don't know, man. That's the thing. I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to say.
Yeah. Well, when we're at episode 700, the Nets have won their title.
Right. I don't know. Fuck the future. I'm looking at right now, and I'm just so excited about this season. That's all I have to say.
You're so like in the moment.
I'm so focused and tunnel vision. I couldn't give a fuck. The Jets and the Knicks. I couldn't give a fuck about next year. Give me this season. Give me this year.
I'm excited.
Give me a
nice
ride for both teams, and let's have some fun in the fall and the spring. And then next year when the Mets have Soto, we'll have some fun with them too. But right now, let's go.
The Mets are a half game out of the wild card,
but they're fake competing. They're in it, but they're not gonna like. It's the same old shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we're in it. Yeah, we're in it. They'll be okay, and they're gonna be fine. They may have a playoff series that they win or lose, but I can't see them winning it all. And I get, Rangers won last year, and it's a different baseball now. And yeah,
but that is a big if. I mean,
they have no starting pitching. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I get they have one of the best closers, and he's been a little shaky. But
no, they have their flaws. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. They have their flaws. But the beauty of baseball is that if you get in the tournament and you get hot for those 2 weeks, it's over. It's over.
And even before the new format with the Rockies that one year where they won like every game, still they got to the World Series or something. Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but
that's the truth of it, and that sport in particular. If you get going, why not? Yeah. And that's why I agree with you. I don't think they're as good as those other teams. And you mentioned their pitching, but if the pitching gets hot for that 2 weeks. That's all. That's all that, and it's the type of sport where it can happen. Like you don't typically get in basketball where a role player. I know Jeremy Lin, here it comes, but it doesn't happen. In baseball, it lends itself to where that can happen. So if you just get in, they wouldn't be my first bet. They'd probably be on the lower end, but it wouldn't be impossible. Like the rest of the NL is so average that you couldn't tell me if the Mets get in the playoffs and then the first round they're playing the Padres that they couldn't take 2 out of 3. Of course. It could happen. But I agree with you that they're not the cream of the crop, but they're
not the title contending team like
the too. Yeah. The Braves stink. They're playing like shit. They're losing. So it's possible.
And the Dodgers never win, even with that team.
So my point to you, Alex, is enjoy the moment with the Mets. You're talking about the Jets and the Knicks, but you can't do it with the Mets, who are a half game out of a playoff spot with 40 something games left.
I'm enjoying the games. I'm having fun and I'm watching them, and it's good stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm watching them like, okay, let's see. But it's not like with the Knicks and the Jets where like I'm over the moon excited. Every game is gonna be like, playoff.
Football's football. I mean, football every game, and you didn't get any Aaron Rodgers last year. I mean, you got him for 2 snaps or whatever it was.
Him holding a flag, and it was great, and that was that was exciting. But damn, I forgot the point I wanted to make.
Jets.
No,
excited in the moment. I want you need this rationale for life. You need to be sending this out. How's work going? Mad. I'm in the moment. Relax.
I'm in the moment. I got to send this email. I'm
Mr. In the moment. It is good to be in the moment though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is. I'm really mad because I'm trying to think of what the point was, and I can't.
How great I am. You like the addition of my? Oh, sorry. You like my addition of the Nets pillow?
I see it with the basketball with the Nets logo on it in your background. If you're watching on YouTube, damn it!
Don't worry about it. Football's coming soon. A month.
Yeah,
Mets are in a playoff race.
That's true.
Even if you don't want to believe it or not.
That's why I got to take notes. I usually have the notes app open and I write down certain things whenever I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. When you're on your like long rants and I mean, same thing probably for me. It's hard to remember things sometimes, especially when it's 10 o'clock at night. But whatever, it was good, good stuff. I enjoyed that show.
I'll give you full transparency. It is hard. So when we did our He Got Game, New York got game. I keep saying He Got Game because
I keep saying He Got Game.
Shuttlesworth. But which by the way,
on YouTube, New York Post Sports. Go check it out.
The Public Enemy remix, or remix. It's probably not the right word. Of whatever
I know the soundtrack from the soundtrack of
Clearwater.
All of it. I know what you're talking about.
But when I was 13 or 14 years old, whenever that movie came out, and I heard that song, I swear to God, I played it like 800 times in a row and shot baskets.
Steven Stills, so Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yes,
probably. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, he was on that one. Yeah.
But anyway,
that was a cool.
Now I forgot my point.
Yeah, I don't remember that's the name of this episode. We forgot our point.
This was my point. I didn't eat that much before the recording, and my brain I lost.
Oh, the SNY show, New York Post Sports show,
and I eventually went into a fugue state. Where ugh. But Dexter was like, "Where did your wife go to school?" And I forgot, that she went to Duquesne in Pittsburgh. And in a moment, I'm like, "Holy shit!" But my grandpa went to Duquesne. My uncle went to Duquesne. Jess's dad went to Duquesne. My
I
wife,
think you don't know more people at Duquesne than people who work at Duquesne.
Her brother went to Duquesne, and I was like, I was looking there, and I was going, I am fucked. I don't remember this. I'm not going to answer anything. And I was like, I didn't eat enough, and I forgot that. So to your point about forgetting things, that's all. I wanted to connect the dots. So
yeah. I'm gonna remember it after the show, and I'm gonna text you, be like, oh, that was the thing we were talking
I'm
about.
sure you will.
Or when I'm listening back when it's posted, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that's the thing. But
you ready for jersey number trivia? I got mine.
Oh yeah,
sure. With him.
No, you know the you were too nervous when you were there with thinking like, oh my God, I'm not gonna remember anything. For me, I have always been in broadcasting school and in college and whatever. Every time I did TV, I sucked. Like I was just like, and reading off a prompter, like I can read, but like reading off a prompter and trying to keep my face together, and then I sucked at it. And this is now, we're going back 15, 20 years, 20 years ago, it's been a while. And now we're talking about things that we talk about all the time. So it's a little different.
Sure.
But when I was on the show, I was impressed with myself, like to pat myself on the back, that I was able to stay in the moment and not need notes that I usually have on this podcast, except for now, which is why I forgot points. That I was able to do that. And I really give that to Dexter, because he really knew how to keep us focused and keep us on par and on topic. And there was one point in the show that I totally zoned out. He was asking me a question. I looked at him like, like I didn't remember, and then I like had to collect my thoughts. But it's weird because when you're on the spot like that and your mind's racing, and I'm able to pick up where I was, because my mind is going 1,000 miles a minute, and we do the show all the time. We talk about this stuff all the time, that something's going to come up that I can bullshit my way until I figure out what the hell I was talking about. So that's the great thing. And I think I can't wait to do it again with him. It was such a blast.
Yeah. Dexter was awesome. I had so much fun. Was when our true pre-production meeting for 15, 20 minutes, just chatting was nice too. I always found, for me, maybe less TV, because I don't really have much experience doing that, but obviously doing a lot of podcast stuff and being radio, I always myself was just way more comfortable behind a microphone than real life. Like you put me, I've actually used this tactic, Alex, where I'm having conversations with people, and I pretend that it's an interview for a podcast, and it helps me come up with things to ask people and be engaged,
like
with
you're
what
interviewing.
Not like a full interview, like, hey, welcome, like they're like, we're having lunch, what's going on here, dude? But just where they're saying something, listening, reacting, getting to the next question. Because when I do it in this setting, it's really easier for me. But in like real life, sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So I try to do that now, where I pretend I'm in a podcast talking to people, so that I'm not as awkward, because I'm socially awkward sometimes. And I think that's helped me using
it's funny you say that, and I don't want to make you feel more awkward, but when we all hung out this past weekend, our families, my wife and my son. Where's this going? Hannah's, Mike's wife and his two kids, and we all went out to lunch in Jersey somewhere. I don't know. And I was really surprised to know that New Jersey isn't just the Meadowlands in Atlantic City. There are actual other towns in New Jersey. So that was pretty cool to figure that out. And so it was a great place, and I'm having fun. But after lunch, we were driving home, and my wife and I were talking about you, Mike, and we are like, Mike is so different on the podcast than in person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on the podcast, you're you're all over the place, talking and like very engaging. And at lunch, you were engaging, but it was just different. I can't explain it. You were just it was like a different person.
That's just me. I'm more.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that.
Yeah. The microphone, I can fully be myself.
Right.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was good to know you're trashing me.
You should just walk around with a microphone, like just everywhere. I feel like I'm doing a show.
It's good to know you're shit talking me and you're driving.
Well, we weren't shit talking. We were just saying you're different. We're like, this guy he's a fucking mute. No, we weren't doing that. You weren't that. It's just
I mean,
But it's also different because you have the kids around, and you got to be on your son Ryan's running around to other tables, and you're like, hey, come back here, like what I mean? So
that is part of it, right? If I was to do the podcast right now, and my son was in here, it would be a different dynamic.
Right. If it was just the four of us, me, my wife, you, and your wife, then I think it'd be a little different. Yeah,
and that, we could. We could
talk about this all night. So So how are things?
Clearly, I have to do a better job of my interviewing when we go for lunch. I'll remember that for next time.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, there was. It's okay. So there.
Spit it out.
I don't know if I want to say it. I won't say it. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you off there. It's fine.
All right.
All right.
Good
It's been Bad Weather Fans. 31, 330, no, 231.
I have no idea.
We have some fun guests in the pipeline that we've been working on, but they haven't quite clicked yet. But I do think end of August, early September, it's gonna be a lot of things that you'll all be super excited about.
Yep.
All right, Bad Weather Fans, enjoy it. Subscribe, listen. We're having fun here in the middle of August with nothing going on with sports and basketball. There's stuff in sports.
Well, Jets stuff is going on, but
nothing's
nothing
going
basketball.
on with the Jets.
Yeah, just
it's
the
normal Jets stuff. All right. See you later, Alex.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.